Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how you can add real-time functionalities to your Cloudflare workers. I have three tabs open and what I'm just going to do now is demonstrate this at a very simple point. This is a simple increment decrement app where I can increment this number 0 and I can also decrement it. What should happen when I increment it from this window that I have right here in the middle? As you can see, every other window responds. So I'm on 5 now, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I keep on going, and every other window is responding to this. And if I decrement it from this window, every other one responds as well. That's basically what I'm going to be showing you guys. And with this, you can have an idea of the kind of things that you can build with Cloudflare workers. And what makes this actually possible is the fact that we're going to be using something that has been around for a while, but not really talked about, in my opinion. This is one of the biggest things that happened this year. It's called durable objects. Now, most of you might know Cloudflare workers as being in this serverless environment, this V8, isolate, whatever. And you know that when you are in a serverless environment, you can't really have states. It's usually stateless. And you end up not being able to do things like add WebSockets. So when you want to add real-time functionalities to your serverless app, you have to reach out for things like Pusher or the alternatives. But with DO or durable objects, you don't actually need those kind of things because of you. It kind of creates this sweet spot in the middle where you have a serverless app and a server, which I think is just marvelous. And the kind of things you can actually do with this. By the time you start exploring it, you understand what I'm talking about. But this example is going to be very easy. Just shows you the base functionalities of how durable object works and how easy they are for you to set up and start up with. And you can see the kind of things that you can actually build with them. So what I'm going to do now is open up my Ono application. Now I'm using Ono to actually demonstrate this, but you can do this on any other like Express or whatever backend that you're using that you can actually use Cloudflare workers with. Now the first thing you're going to need to do is update your wrangler.toml file and you're going to add durable object binding. Now in development, the durable object is free and this is basically what all you need to do to set it up. But in production, you are going to need to upgrade your plan to worker speed so that you can actually access the durable object binding in production. But in development, to play around with this, to test this out, you don't actually need to pay for anything. Very simple first step is to actually create the durable object binding. Very simple like this. Then the name and then the class name. Simple as this. Mine is counters to make it as simple as possible. Then you want to add the migration, not necessary, but go ahead and add it. And then we're gonna have a tag, which is v1 for version 1. And then the new class is called counters as well to keep this simple and straightforward. Now after that, what we want to do now is go to our index file. Our index file is where everything is going to be accessed from. And we're going to see that we are having very basic Ono stuff. We initialize a new Ono application here, and we are using app.get to create a get route to this route slash the WS. WS represents WebSocket. So it's very easy. The first thing I'm doing is having an if check. Now, this if check is just to check whether the connection that is about to be made is a WebSocket connection. If it is, I allow it. If it's not, I send a text letting that this is not a WebSocket request and a status code of 426. Now, after that test, we have the stripe and cache block. Very easy try and cache block. The first thing on the track block is this console log. This is just me tracking it so that you guys can have a better view of how things actually move, but you don't need to be bothered about this. The next things and the things that might actually confuse you guys, the first thing is this variable here and the other one right here as well. What are we actually doing here? So as you can see, we have c.env.counters, which was the counters that we declared on this wrangler.toml file. This counters is actually a class that we've created. If I go to this do file, we have this class that we're exporting from this file called counters, and it extends durable object. Very important for it to extend durable objects. And there are a couple of things that are happening here, but we'll not concentrate on this for now. Let's go back here and look at what is going on here. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm getting ID from name and then I place in the string. Now this string a lot of times might be dynamic, right? So if you're creating a multiplayer game or a chat application where you can have chat rooms, this string would be dynamic, but for our use case, it's just static right there. It's called default. Then we get a stub, and the way we get a stub is by literally passing the ID that we get from ID from name to dot get on the same counter class. So this is pretty basic and standard stuff when working with DO or durable objects. I'll use them interchangeably, but this is the first thing you gotta do. After that, what you want to do is depending on how you are working with durable objects. In my case, I'm basically just using a simple fetch request here. So for us to interface with our fetch request, I'll go with stub.fetch and then I'll pass in the fresh request of Ono. But since we're using Ono, I'm using Cloudflare workers, what you need to pass here is not just request, you want to go c.request.raw and then you pass this in here. Now, on a normal day, you just have to return response like this. And this will be okay. But for some reasons, I realized that when I'm interfacing with this with a front end application on somewhere different, like a SvelteKit app or Remix app, a Next.js app, it gives or errors like the WebSocket connection fails simply because of I'm just returning it. I think it has to do with way Ono and its middleware works and things like that. But I don't really want to bother about that right now. Very simple way to fix this is just return a normal response as usual, but just replace them with the response you get from here. So we have a response the status, you pass response the status. We have to pass the headers, you pass response the headers, you pass the WebSocket, you go with response dot WebSocket as well. And for the error, we'll basically just return a text and I'll log out an error to my console or to my terminal. And this is very easy basic stuff, right? One extra thing that I'm doing is actually getting these counters from this file and exporting it here because of this is our point of entry and exit as well. So this is the file that is basically doing all of the work. So we want to bring all the code inside of this file and ship it outside. That's basically why I am exporting counters from DO from this index file. So this part is very important for the whole thing to work. Now let's go to the interesting part, which is this durable object itself. Now this is where the whole thing is happening. The first thing I'm doing is again declaring the class. I'm exporting it outside so that I can use it on the index file, but the class is called counters, and it's very important to name this class with its name of your binding that you created in your wrangler.toml file so that there are no confusions. We name it that, and then you can do basically whatever. You can store state because it's a usual everyday JavaScript class that just extends this durable object, and so there are extra functionalities and extra things that you can do. But every class method things you can do, and the nice features you get with the JavaScript class, you can use here as well. So what I'm doing here is creating a kind of real-time counter. So there are very simple things that I'm doing. First thing is like I'm declaring a count variable. I'm going to ignore parts that are not really useful to you guys, but I'm declaring a count variable. And then I have this constructor right here. And what this constructor right here is doing is it's a usual class constructor. But we have this super right here that gets ctx, which is the first value here, which is the durable object state, and then env. And I get there and I just pass them inside here. Very simple as that. Now these parts, they're not actually useful. I can actually get rid of this part and it still works, but I left that part there because of it's there and it wasn't harming the application. But I've gotten rid of that. Now this third part, this fetch part, is what is actually being called when we when we do stubs.fetch and c.request.raw, right? So we can do this in like a RPC method where we don't use this fetch directly. We just have methods here and then we call it from our endpoint, using the remote procedure controller. But using this fetch is very simple and very straightforward. So we do this fetch and then we have this log telling us that do fetch code. Again, this is just for tracking purposes. I don't really need this here, and I can just start off with a regular everyday WebSocket. So this is just how we do WebSockets in JavaScript. And creating WebSocket pair, we get this client and the server. And there are two ways of actually accepting the WebSocket connection here in durable objects. Is the first way is the normal everyday way, which is server.accept. Second way is to create this hibernation. So you can go ahead and read the use documentation properly, but this is just the best way of going about it so that you can save on cost and can hibernate your sockets when you're not using them. And when you do want to use them, they wake them up back and you keep on using them. So you don't actually pay for the the ideal times, the times that it wasn't actually running JavaScript. You understand? So that's why using this dot context, or I like to call the state, even if it's CTX, dot accept WebSocket, and then we're passing the server inside. What we normally do is server dot accept, right? But because of we want to make this abandonable, we run this instead. And what this is mainly a Cloudflare workers thing. So it's not really a JavaScript thing. You can't really do this with normal JavaScript. So it's a Cloudflare workers thing. And that's also something you're going to learn is when you're working with Cloudflare workers, you kind of have to change the way your brain thinks of servers and JavaScript in general. There are a lot of cool things with Cloudflare, but they end up shifting the way you think about these things that you've used for a very long while, which I don't think is a bad thing. We get this level of power that we usually don't used to have with serverless environment, like being able to run WebSockets in it. And nobody's really talking about it. So it's kind of pissing me off. So that's why I decided to make this video on it. Even if it's not really a refined video, but it shows you that you can actually do things with Cloudflare, workers, and durable objects. So again, I'm adding this client. This part is not actually useful. I get rid of it as well. And for this fetch, what I'm basically doing is creating a WebSocket connection and returning the response. So that's all this fetch is doing. And because of we are using this accept WebSocket, we can't actually now do things like um server dot add event listener and then listing to like a message event, and then it won't actually work the way we want it to work. So the work around that is this or are these methods right here: WebSocket message, WebSocket close, and we also have WebSocket error. They provided to us by Cloudflare, and we can easily take like the everyday thing. We can take WS, which is the WebSocket, which is the server itself. We can take the message, which was what the client sent to us, and we can do whatever I want to do with them. So, in my opinion, I am checking whether that message is equals to the text increment, and if it is equal to that text, I basically increment count variable that I have declared here. I increment the count variable, and then I broadcast it to every client that is connected right now. So that is what this get WebSocket method is doing. It's going to get me all of the clients that are connected right now, and then I send this count to every single one of them. And I do the same thing for the decrement as well. And we have the WebSocket of close, which is basically just close the WebSocket and then send this text and the code. So very simple, very normal JavaScript. Yeah, there are a few things that are different, but it's um very similar to the way we usually write WebSockets. And if I keep on going to this file. If I go to the index file, you will notice that it's very simple as well. If I get rid of a lot of things that we don't actually need here, you'll notice that it's very simple file. Like this cache block, I personally don't think it's useful. This part of checking whether the upgrade header is equal to WebSockets. Again, you can also get rid of this as well if you want to, and then you realize that it's actually a very simple file. Then I save all of this and I interface with this from the client. So this is my SvelteKit application, and I'm basically creating a WebSocket connection here and just everyday WebSocket stuff. And then when it comes to the button, I'm sending the text increment, getting the message and updating the value count, getting the text of decrement, getting the message and updating the value count. And the reason why every other client gets the messages as well, because they are not making these actions, but they are going to be getting the values of count every time the action is made, because of we have this w dot on message. So every time a message is sent to the client, we update the value of count there as well. And that's why we can easily do cool things like this. So if I refresh this and I refresh this, I can increment this and the other tab updates, and I can decrement this and the other tab updates. So let me know what you guys think about durable objects. Let me know if you want me to do more tutorials on durable objects like real-time games and cool things like that. And let me know what you plan on building with durable object, because of believe me, these are some of the coolest things, and the fact that we can use this on environments like Cloudflare workers and Worker D is just amazing. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section. I would really love to see what you've built before or what you plan on building. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.